Here's a quick demo on how MintMCP can help you run SDIO servers and get you OAuth protections on them. So many servers in the wild for MCPs are STDIO based. For example, if I adhere to supabase, there's a supabase MCP server that requires you to run an npx command to execute this. And normally this runs in your local machine. So within the MintMCP gateway, what you're able to do is to take this config here that normally you put into Claude code and bring it into Mint, and Mint can run this for you inside the gateway. So you're going to add server in Mint. You go to hosted server and choose the standard SDIO JSON format, paste it in here, and you're able to tell Mint all the configurations you need. So we need the project ref and the access token as well. So for supabase, the project ref is usually the project ID. Sometimes you find it in the URL right here. And then for access token, I think I'll need to create this by going to my preferences. Copy and bring back to Mint. So by filling those two fields in and hitting create, Mint does the rest of the hard work to run the server for you inside Mint's own containerized environment. So over here, you can see that Mint has spin up a server configuration with a few wrapper commands around the supabase server. It has set the environment variables. It's going to run this with a machine with 1 core, 4 gigs of RAM, and it's going to expose the MCP at the /MCP URL path there. And here you can see that the server is now just starting up, and it's going to go and show us the logs as soon as it's live. Now, sometimes the environment variables in here are secret. And so what you want to do here is to click edit and be able to set some of these values here as secret values. So I'm going to mark the access token here as secret. And what this does is that it causes Mint to save them more in a secure fashion and not show them in the interface if you want to access them. And now these secrets can also be rotated by going through a process where you edit and specify the new values. And secret environment variables are hidden, and you can only replace them and not actually see them in the UI itself. Great. So we're going to give a second for the server to spin up right now. But once the server is fully running after a few minutes, then this is now showing you all the details and tools available from the supabase MCP server. And this is running it from the npx command by running it inside a container in the MintMCP gateway. So MintMCP is managing the entire execution of the server for you in a secure container. So you don't have to run it locally. So now that supabase is running, we can now see that this is a new connector available to MintMCP here, supabase. And we can now create virtual servers that sit in front of that MCP server to expose the connections securely to our users. So I'm going to create a new virtual MCP here where I'm going to call it eng1. I want to enable supabase. I can also enable other services I have here. For example, I can enable workers observability from Cloudflare. And what MCP allows you to do is to combine multiple MCP servers into one. So I can see all the different things in supabase. I might want to disable delete branch. I might want to disable, say, merge branch, rebase branch, and functions that I feel concerned about. I can see the entire description of the tools, and I can choose to enable and disable different functions in there. Not only that, you're also able to modify them. For example, if you wanted to change execute SQL to say, please tell the user what SQL you intend to run, you can change the tool descriptions. You can also change the tool names. So in the case that you have multiple tools colliding, you can be more specific at how your AI agents respond to that. Okay, once you set that up, you can now go to security policy here and then determine who can access this virtual MCP. You can say whether new tools are enabled by default and who in the organization can connect to it. Finally, what you get on the other end is a single MCP endpoint that is OAuth protected with the SSO settings you have. And you can use it now and give it to your different customers and users in your organization to use. So if I click on this and hit the Claude, I can now manage connectors and add this new custom connector we just connected. And when I add a connector in Claude, this connector will then have an OAuth flow now that will ask me to log into Mint in order to get access to the supabase MCP. So even though supabase MCP doesn't have OAuth in it, by running it through the MintMCP gateway, we now have SSO OAuth on the supabase MCP itself. Let's bring up the Mint demo connector, and now you can see that it has all the supabase functions alongside the other Cloudflare functions that we added there too. So this is one MCP server that combines multiple MCP servers together. So with this, I can now go to Claude, start getting it to do work on my supabase. So when Claude now calls Mint, Claude is going to call Mint, and Mint is going to route the request to the supabase instance, the STDIO server running in our backend. And so over here, you can see that it's found a table to-do list with 4 records, which does match the demo data we have here. And if we went now to Mint now, we can also go to the activity page and be able to see real-time activity logs on what Claude is using with Mint. So in this case, you can see real-time activity logs where it's calling list tables. You can see how it's calling it and also the responses. So this gives you the telemetry, all the logs and governance you need to help roll out MCPs for your organization. Great. So this is how in a few minutes you can go from a open source GitHub STDIO server to an OAuth-backed SSO SAML protected MCP server with audit logs and with access controls in there. If you are interested, please do reach out.